activist, I'm a mom, and I am so honored to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Who would not be honored to be here? Because we're talking about universal basic income.
Woo!
And this is an idea that has been considered and promoted by some of our greatest minds. 504 years ago, the philosopher Thomas More talked about it. In 1961, civil rights activist Martin Luther King. In 1962, Milton Friedman. And recently, journalist and historian Rutger Bregman talked about it in 2017 in his TED Talk. So throughout our times, historians, economists, politicians, philosophers, people from all sides of the political spectrum, left and right, have been promoting it. And of course they would, because it addresses a multitude of society's problems. Meaningful work. Rutger Bregman says that nowadays millions of people feel that their jobs are insignificant. A recent poll of 230,000 people across 142 countries found that 87% of them felt that their jobs, that they disliked them. 37% of people polled in Britain felt that if their jobs didn't exist, no one would even notice. Imagine, Bregman adds that a math whiz at Facebook said, "The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads." So imagine the remarkable things that we could do in our communities, in our country, as creatives, as volunteers, as parents, as students, as inventors, as entrepreneurs, if only we weren't tied to soul-killing dead-end jobs. Imagine the freedom and the possibilities that a guaranteed income could extend to all of us. Now, I could go on and on about the benefits of guaranteed income. We've talked about that today already. And then we could talk about how we can afford it. We've already talked about that as well. But let me talk about a couple more things that it does for us. It provides a secure income for those whose jobs are made insecure or whose entire incomes are dissolved or displaced by automation. And finally, when we talk about poverty, guaranteed income is not attached to burdensome conditions. You don't need to prove that you're worthy of it. You don't need to show what you're doing in exchange for it. It's a means to lift people out of poverty, to level the economic playing field, to allow people options for food, for shelter, for education, for childcare and employment. And when we abolish poverty first, then we have the time, the resources, and the energy to address things like homelessness, education challenges, malnutrition, addictions, erosions in our quality of life, and everyone receives it. There's no shame attached to it because it's not a handout, it's a right. And we all deserve it. You, me, every one of us. Woo! So I just want to talk about, before I go, the times that we have been doing it and that it has worked. And so please forgive me if I make any mistakes in my history. But in the 70s, Conservative Senator Hugh Segal rolled out basic income in Dauphin, Manitoba. And the program ran for 4 years, but when a new government came in, they thought it was frivolous and they canceled it. But their short-sightedness ignored the fact that it was working. The people in Dauphin were healthier, more prosperous, and doing better in school. Hospitalizations went down 8.5%. Mental health and domestic violence decreased. Children's school performance increased. And, shocker, people didn't quit their jobs en masse. And here in Ontario and in countries around the world, we've seen similar successes. Now, imagine if the people in our lives and our histories had not laid groundwork for incredible things. Imagine if the workers had not laid the groundwork for labor rights and for unions. Imagine if Tommy Douglas had not laid the groundwork for our healthcare system. Imagine if Hugh Segal had not laid the groundwork in our country for basic income. So the question is not, why should we do this? The question must be, why are we not doing this?
Woo!
And you know, when I said I was honored to be here, I was only telling you half of the truth. because more than being honored to be here, I'm excited to be here. And I'm excited to be here today because right now we're standing here making history. What if someone asked you, what are you going to do to lay the groundwork today to make our lives better? What would you say? Well, I will say that I'm here to lift my voice. I'm here to march in the streets. I'm here to demand that we all be heard. Universal basic income is our right, and today, right this moment, we lay the groundwork to lift people out of poverty, to bring hope, peace, comfort, and dignity to ourselves, our communities, and our country. Today, we march for the future. Today, we make history. Now, let's march!
Woo!